The ministry started back in 2009. A bunch of young adults came to me as the pastor of the church and said, Pastor Todd, we want to see something end in our generation. We brought a bunch of these young adults together to ask two questions of God. God, guide us to the most challenging place in the world and help us to understand what the greatest physical need is in that area so that we can use that need to earn the right to share the gospel. Liberia, this small country in West Africa, consistently the second poorest country in the world. According to the CIA, the second most miserable place to live in the world. USA Today named it the most corrupt country in the world. So this is a place where, along with 14 years of civil war, nobody wanted to go to. Now, this was a place where missionaries were leaving, organizations, NGOs were leaving in droves. Very few came back when it was over in 2004. That's exactly where they wanted to go. They said, let's go to the most challenging place in the world and let's shine God's love in a very bright way in a very dark place.
Bless these people, that your spirit would come and many would come to know you.
Very soon we realized that the greatest need was clean water. You can't educate sick and dying children, you can't teach them sports, you can't do anything until a clean water source is brought to a given village or community. It really is life. Now we know in the Christian community that Jesus is life, but it actually gives us an incredible inroad into that discussion by providing clean water. Out of all that study, we realized that water was the tool we were going to use, that Liberia was the place, but that ultimately the gospel was going to be the goal. And so our mission now is to provide clean water to the entire nation of Liberia, border to border, and share the gospel with every person we serve, and to do it by 2020.
Jesus is the living water.
Up to this point, we've had the blessing and the privilege of putting 1,116 water projects in the ground, mostly hand-pumped water wells, and sharing the gospel to those 1,116 villages over the last 72 months. And it's been an incredible journey. We've learned a lot through the process. The challenges have been many. And as we built more confidence in our ministry, as we've seen God move in a powerful way, we've been blessed to kind of press through those brick walls and reached over 900,000 Liberians with water and the gospel. We have about 65 months left till 2020. And in those 65 months, we have to do 2.5 times more projects to reach the same amount of people. And that's because we're going into more rural areas with smaller groups of people in these villages. And so it gets harder and harder, more costly and more challenging the further we move out. But the exciting thing is that God has put a team together with us, and we've developed a strategy where we have an end date. We have a roadmap to 2020. When the last well's drilled and the gospel is preached to that last village, and there's a moment in time, that will be a time in history that people will read about generations from now. And as long as the funding comes in within a specific time frame, we have the ability to achieve this goal and to give God glory for that somewhere between the middle of 2018 and the end of 2020. Now, we're no longer questioning whether 2020 is feasible. We're actually saying we can do it before that. And that's one of the most incredible things that we've begun to realize and talk about and share with other people, that God is going to do it by 2020. He's going to finish what He started and do it in a profound way. And when it's done, He's the only one that gets the glory.